Hi everyone, Alison here from Ladner Village Arts and Crafts, and I am super excited to introduce you to this new stamping tool from Altenew, the Stampwheel. And it comes in this gorgeous box. I've already opened this at the store and played with it, but you can see it's packaged really well, lots of additional protective foam in there. So when you get it out of the box, it doesn't have this on it, but you can see I've already been playing with it. This is what you get. So you get this acrylic block. Well, it's like a giant acrylic block is basically what it is. And it's got all these indents so that it fits in, and then you can, hopefully the camera's picking up the radial lines on it, so you can turn it. And I will be playing with this a little bit more and creating some wreath designs, and that's basically what it is designed to do with the radial spokes kind of a thing. But you will see that there are some enamel dots on it, and that is what they recommend, is that they recommend putting enamel dots in the corners so that you sort of always have this visual reference of where your corners are, like kind of where you started. And then I put one up in the top center so that I can always know where my top is. I don't know at this point, I haven't played with it enough to know if that's going to be a super useful thing, but I thought, why not? Okay, so you get this giant big sort of acrylic wheel, and then you get the platform itself, and it's got non-grip little feet on it. And then the magical thing is this mat. So this is like, it's like the acrylic polymer that stamps are made out of these days. And one side is smooth and the other side is ridged, and it's got this sort of subtle grid on it. And this is what holds everything in place. So you can put your piece of paper in there and it's not going to move. You can put a stencil on there and it won't move. Let me grab a stencil. So this is actually the one from Altenew that I used to create this card, but you'll see, put it down, it doesn't shift. So when I have it over top of my paper, now obviously this is not aligned, but I just want to show you, stick it down, you can do all your blending through the stencil and nothing is going to move. Your paper is stuck there, your stencil's stuck there. It's amazing. So let's see it in action, shall we? So Altenew makes fantastic stamp and stencil combinations, and this is the one that I used to make this design here. It's the Build a Garden Dear Dahlias collection, and I'm not sure how new it is. It's been in my stash for a little bit. So I'll basically take you step by step, my process anyways. It's not the only process, put it that way. It's just how I do it. The one thing I will say is that I've cut this paper to basically the size of an A2 card front, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You can use any size paper you want. The only thing I will say is make sure it is smaller than your stencil so that your stencil has something to grip onto around the card. So that's kind of the only limitation. And then this is basically 7 inches square, so you can't really do much beyond that. Okay, so let's get this stamp set out. And I'm going to position it thusly. Now, if you have any sort of stamping platform, then you are familiar with what I'm about to do here. And I'm just going to grab my Hampton Arts one to show you. So this is my 8 inch, well, 8 and a bit inch stamping platform from Hampton Arts. And in this one, you put your paper in here, you hold it down with the magnets, you place your stamp. Here, I'll do this. You place your stamp however you want it on your paper, and then you pick it up with the door of, or the window, or whatever you want to call it, of your stamping platform, and then you ink this, place it down, and it shouldn't move. However, I find that it does, because it will actually, the paper will actually sort of stick to the stamp. So when you lift up the door to take the stamp away, the paper kind of moves, and then you try and get it back in exactly the same spot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So anyways, it's not a perfect system. It's great, it's fantastic. I love mine and I will continue to use mine. However, this stamp wheel kind of changes things. So let me show you. All right, we are going to position my stamp, and it is engraved side down, flat side up. I'm going to take my acrylic wheel, put it into place. That's going to pick up my stamp. My paper is not going to come up with it because it is stuck to that polymer mat underneath. So now I can place this upside down within the grooves of the platform to keep it nice and secure, and add my ink. Lift it up. And this is where I think this dot of mine is going to come in handy, because I know that that's the top. So what I will suggest is that you sort of get a couple of corners in place and lay it down and make sure it's pushed all the way down. You can use anything to push this down. Use your hand. I have the Pink Fresh stamp press, which I'm going to grab. Forgot to grab it out earlier. I love this thing. So it's just a little block, but it makes this so much easier. I don't hurt my hands. It's the little things in life. Okay, so my ink pad must need re-inking. So we're going to do this again. And you can use any kind of ink you like. I'm going to be using inks from Altenew for this particular demo, but you can use your distress inks. You can use any kind of ink that will blend. Catherine Pooler inks, distress inks, distress oxides, whatever you got. And I can do this as many times as it takes to get a nice crisp image. So I'm going to do it one more time. There's just a few gaps, because I have never ever been so confident that this image is not going to move. I love this thing, honestly. It's a game changer. Once I get a nice juicy ink pad, that is. All right. And there we go. So then we're just going to clean that off. I'm just going to put that aside because I don't need it for the next step. Now we are going to stencil. So Altenew's layered stencils all have the Altenew logo in a corner. And I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. I'm just going to try and tilt it and hopefully you can see it. This one says Altenew and then it's got a number 2. So that's stencil number 2. So that one is stencil number 1. That one's 4 and that one's 3. So I'm going to put these ones in order, and I'm going to make sure that the logo's up in the top left just so I know where it is. And we're going to get stamping. So now I'm going to twist the stencil until it lines up with my image. And it's okay if it goes off some of these edges of the platform because it's stuck down right here. Nothing is moving. All right, I'm just basically going to recreate the flowers that I did before. So I've got some pinks and some yellows, and then I've got some purples and green for the leaves. And you can use like the same mini ink blending tools that you would use for ink blending if you like. However, for big images like this, that would totally work. I am going to be using the Altenew's stencil brushes. I quite like this type of brush for these layered stencils. They tend to have a more intricate design on them, and the foam, either the flat one or the domed ones, which I prefer for my ink blending, don't do a great job of getting into all the little details of these stencils. And you'll see as we go how detailed they get. Right now, it's a fairly big image. So I'm actually going to start off the stencil and just blend onto the stencil. Ooh, this one apparently had some purple on it. That's okay. Weird. Okay, so I was having a bit of a reaction with the archival ink. Now it's a great ink, and it's permanent, it's waterproof. However, it takes some time to dry, and even though I hit it with a heat gun, it still wasn't dry enough, and so it was actually reacting with the Altenew ink. Like, as I was blending it, it was smudging basically. So I'm going to try a deep green from Altenew. This is part of a set that we have in the store called Jewel Tones. So it's a green opal. I stamped it. It says it's fast drying. Let's see if this works. Okay, so let's try this stencil again. Oops. Oh, hang on. That's why, because it's upside down. And hopefully it'll work this time. When I did it at the stores, this is the problem with having basically two craft rooms, one at the store and one at home. And I can't really film at the store because it's, well, there's customers and it's kind of loud. But I have a different ink pad at the store, so yeah, you know. Okay, let's try this. If it smudges again, I don't know. Just embrace the smudges maybe. Let's try. Okay, that doesn't look like it's smudging. Yay! Okay, so we're gonna start off the edge of the stencil and blend in. The other fantastic thing about these types of blending brushes is that you can get a gradation of color. So you can make it deeper in certain areas if you're super artsy and you want to have like a well-defined light source. You can do that with these brushes. So I'm going to leave that like that for now. And once I've added in, like once you add in the other layers, I can come back and see if I want to actually beef up this layer. But I'm going to leave that for now. I'm going to move on to the purple. I'm going to do this in the lightest purple that I have. And again, I'm going to start off. And the reason I start off the stencil is that if you just kind of pounce your stencil down in the middle of your design, you will get, well, you'll basically get a stencil mark. And we don't want that. So I am trying to go back in and deepen up sort of like the base of the flowers at the stem. Okay. And then these ones I'm going to do yellow. Woo. So this one is called Buttercream. It's a very, very pale yellow. So I'm gonna come back in a few times and layer the color on there. So each time you come in and go over your stencil again, you're adding another layer of color on top. It just kind of builds up the intensity. But I don't want a solid, I don't want it to be solid. I want to have that gradation of color. When we take off the stencil, we see the magic. Ta-da! Okay, so that's stencil 1. Put that aside. We'll grab stencil 2. And we're just going to line up stencil 2 in much the same way we did for stencil 1. And I'm just using the image below to help me get this in the right spot. And once I feel like it's in the right spot, I'm going to stick it down. Okay, so this one, I'm going to go to my deeper pink. And I'm just using the same stencil brush. And again, I'm going to start off and work my way in. Try and have some areas where the color is deeper. Basically, I'm trying to have the center of the flower be a bit deeper. Okay, so we'll see if I need to add any more of that in a little bit. And then we're going to come in with the next shade up of purple. And you can see how this stencil, the areas, the holes, I guess, in the stencil, the design in the stencil is that much finer. And it will continue to get finer as we go on. Okay, so deeper yellow. Okay, so that's stencil 2. We're already starting to see some lovely definition there. And then we're going on to stencil 3. So now this one, as you can see, has got a very intricate pattern. Now it's also got the outline of the sort of bigger flowers. So you can use that to line up your stencil. It's a little tricky to see. You gotta get the light just right. Hang on. That's right. I gotta have it turned this way, don't I? There we go. And I'm going to put the lid on my yellow. I'm going to just use that same darker red and then come into these spots, and it's just going to add another layer of the red onto what was already there and deepen what was already there. I don't need a third red. You could use a third red if you wanted, but I don't need one. same with the yellow. I'm just going to use that same shade of darker yellow. And I am being a little bit heavier handed with this layer than I was with the previous ones, because I do want to have that deepening. So there we go. So my flowers are done. It's time to do the leaves. So now stencil number 4, hopefully the camera's picking this up. It's got this like sort of quadrant etched into it. That's because this is like 4 stencils in one. Okay, so you don't like put it down and do the bits that are off the page. This is the first layer for the leaves, and then you move on to the definition, and that's this leaf cluster. And then this one is this leaf down here, the base, and then the detail. Okay, so let's start with the larger leaf cluster. It's also got the stems of the yellow and purple flowers. So if you feel like you're going to go off, then I would cover that with a bit of, you know, washi or post-it note or whatever. And if you're using the bigger brushes, you might want to do that. Now, for my example, I use these 2 inks. I'm actually going to go a bit darker. I'm going to use these 2 today. Again, starting off the stencil, coming on to the design. For the stems, I want it to be noticeable, so I'm trying to get quite a bit of ink in there. And you could use a different color if you wanted. If you wanted to come in with a brown ink, you could use any of these browns from the Jewel Tone set. But I'm just going to keep it easy and go green. I'm trying to make the base of my leaves a little bit deeper, and I know that I've got some additional design and shading and whatnot to stencil over top, but I still kind of want to have that gradation where it goes light to the top. Okay, so while I have that color, I'm actually going to flip it and do the bottom leaf. Just move it right down, line it up. Takes like 2 seconds because it's one little design. Okay, let's find the lid for that. Oh, there it is. Okay. And then we can do the darker definition. So lining it up again. Sticking it down, trying not to stick my fingers in all that ink. Same stencil brush. Trying not to be too heavy-handed. And have it darker down at the base. Now, before I move this stencil, I want to see what it looks like and see if I need any more. I'm just going to pick it up. It's looking pretty good, actually. Add a little bit more to that leaf. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so let's move it and get this bottom leaf. Okay, so that part is all done. Take your stencils, wash them. Just need to basically rinse them with some water. If you leave it for a bit and they're stained, then you just a little bit of mild soap. Okay, so that is our design done. This stamp set also has some lovely sentiments. So for the other one, I said thank you. For this one, maybe I'll just say hello. Hello, sweet friend. Okay, so I'm going to figure out where I want my sentiment to be. I think to fit the two of them in there, I need to move it down. Now I have still got my flower on here. I haven't taken it off. And I honestly don't need to because I can use the other side. So let's find out. There's my top. Don't need to have it top or bottom, but I'm a little OCD that way, so we're just going to pick that up. There it is on my wheel. And I'm not going to place this down on top of my stamped image just in case it still has ink on it because I didn't clean it off. And I'm going to use that same green that I used to do the detail. Put it back in my wheel because I can't really use that. I've got the stamp in the way. So I'm just going to use my thumb, push down. It's not bad, but it could use a little bit more. Let's try to do that one more time. Put it back in place. Ta-da! Done. So I've used it on both sides. Look at that. Can't do that with a stamping platform. Okay, so now all I have to do is turn that into a card. Just put that on a card base and maybe add some gems or Nouveau drops, and we're done. Okay, so that is a really quick look at Altenew's new stamp wheel. I am in love. Put it this way. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I will have a link to our website. I believe we are now sold out of this. So we have our pre-order. I didn't order a ton because I wasn't sure what kind of reception we would have. But it looks like I'm going to be putting in a second order. So if you would like to be part of that second order, please email the store and let us know. And I will definitely, I'll send you an invoice for it and we'll get that order placed. And as soon as it arrives, we'll let you know. Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited to do some more things with this. On Friday, I will bring you some wreath creations. And yeah, okay. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.